welcome. My name is Dr. Saida Leatatufu Birch, and it is my pleasure to welcome you this evening to a conversation about Hillman College, the San Francisco, a discussion with Lena Waithe. I am an avid watcher of A Different World, so if you are familiar with that series, you will know that is what Hillman College is, and it's only fitting that we did this under the purview of our Black to San Francisco program, which is an effort to bring an HBCU satellite campus here to San Francisco. And so in this room, we have a number of interns and scholars who represent more than 18 different HBCUs and have been spending time with us over the last couple of weeks and will be with us for the remainder of the summer. And so we're really excited to be in this space. I also want to say happy Pride to everyone. Oh, excuse me. To everyone. And so with that, events such as this wouldn't be possible without our amazing partners. And so
I'll wake up now. So I'm Jason Johnson. I'm the head of strategic partnerships and chief of staff in the chief diversity office at Genentech. It's a mouthful. I'm also a commissioner on the Human Rights Commission, and I'm so glad to be here to welcome all of you to San Francisco. I myself am not an HBCU alum, but I do have a lot of Aggie pride because my brother and my sister-in-law went to North Carolina A&T State University. So Genentech is a sponsor of this amazing initiative, and we embrace the increasingly diverse world around us. For those who don't know who Genentech is, we are a biotechnology company committed to transforming lives with life-saving medicines. And I want to let you know that Genentech is a place for you all to come if you ever want to have an internship, think about a career in the sciences. And let me just tell you, you do not have to be in the sciences in order to work at Genentech. Only about 10% of our workforce are folks who work in the lab or in some sort of scientific role. And so there are roles such as marketing and communications, human resources, information technology, all the things that require running a major corporation like Genentech. So as you're thinking about your careers, keep Genentech in mind, okay? We have a three-part strategy when it comes to our diversity and inclusion initiatives. So it includes fostering belonging, which means making sure all of our people have a place to be their authentic selves and thrive in the organization. We also are committed to advancing inclusive research and health equity. We all know what happened during the pandemic, and we all know that a lot of communities did not get access to health care, and we're making sure that we are breaking down those barriers to make sure that everyone has access to equitable health care. And then finally, transform society. And that's part of what we're doing here while we're sponsoring such events like this, because we want to make sure that we diversify the workforce that is going to be creating those healthcare outcomes for our people. So transform society is what I like to say. We use the power of the purse to make sure that we're putting our dollars to good use, whether it's from charitable contributions to organizations, creating scholarships for students, or creating, like I say, internships and postdocs for students. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. I'll be here if you have any questions about Genentech. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. But again, thanks for being here and welcome to our amazing city. Thank you.
So also in my role, I get to serve as the director of the Dreamkeeper Initiative, which is a multi-million-dollar annual investment in San Francisco's diverse Black communities. We do this work to ensure that Black San Franciscans can experience joy and feelings of safety, can advance educationally and economically, and can be holistically healthy and thrive in this city. Because we know that Black folks help to build San Francisco, Black folks help to sustain San Francisco, therefore Black folks deserve to be in the future of San Francisco. And so The Dreamkeeper Initiative is not possible without our amazing community partners who are the soul and the breath of this initiative. And so it is my honor to bring up Dr. April Silas, who is the Executive Director of Homeless Children's Network, who do a lot around healing and centering Black folks in mental health work. And after Dr. Silas comes up, we are going to see a short clip from some of the mental health work that they are doing in the Black community here in San Francisco. So Dr. April Silas.
Oh no, I didn't need no help. I could have jumped up here backwards. I'm good. It's pride. I can do anything. Come on, y'all not feeling loose? Y'all not feeling loose? You're sitting there like this. Come on. We waited all year for this. Oh my God. I came this close to putting on a thong. Let it go. Let it go, people. Don't let that keep you up tonight, worried about what I got on, okay? How y'all doing? But people looking good, first and foremost, always to the Most High. Yes, always to the Most High. Yes, I want to honor, sacredly lift up Dr. Cheryl Davis. I know you give us some love early, you're going to give us some love later, but I'm going to give us some love. Thank you for being the leader you are and having us here today, but by the permission of that you have paved. I'm so grateful. Homeless Children's Network is an organization that is in love with life and in love with people and in love with our people and in love with our queer youth. Queer youth in the room. Oh, there's none? Come on now. Talk to me. Come on. That's right. Give it up for the power, the magnitude, the epic courage that is in our young folks to even have the tenacity. Come on, born this way. Come on up here. Have a seat. Come on, seriously. I want y'all to give these young folks some love. These are some of the folks that are in the beautiful, have a seat, who are in the film, the teaser, this is the 5-minute teaser that we've been given permission to show. Mental health is a very important aspect of our well-being. Folks think that mental health is just about your mind. It's about your everything. So please, talk with me, talk with one of these young folks. Give us an opportunity to connect so that after today and after all the celebration and all the rainbow and all the hugs and the moment gets quiet next week and all the feelings come forth, you know you can depend on those who love you unconditionally and forevermore. And thanks to Dreamkeeper Initiative, you don't have to pay for it, darling. We have Black, queer therapists. Come on, Dr. Brown, stand up. Don't play with me. Don't play with me, psychologists. Don't play, Atlanta. Don't play like that. Okay, we like this all day and night. Blessings to you. I love you from my heart to yours. Thank you, Dr. Sy. And so it is. Y'all ready?
When I was growing up, to say you were queer, people got murdered for that.
I grew up right here in San Francisco, and as a child, I was gay, and I didn't have any place to go. I felt got bullied everywhere I went here, and when I ran away, I ran down to the streets of the Tenderloin.
See, I grew up in the South. I know what it is like to be a Black, queer woman and told to be very quiet. Even from those who loved me deeply said, keep it to yourself.
Where to belong? Where do you go and where am I accepted? Where am I not forced to be something that I don't have to be? Most of my life has suffered that.
A lot of people are not tuned in for acceptance. There's always someone that is not comfortable, and it's their uncomfortability. It's not us.
I believe healing has called us about.
Black folks in San Francisco are identified as a megalith. Unless we serve all of Black San Francisco, which includes our brothers and sisters and relatives, a part of the LGBTQ plus community, we're not serving any of Black San Francisco.
I've watched San Francisco go from no resources to major resources like Homeless Children Network.
We are the hub of 50-plus agencies that refer families to us. To get 50 people to be in a room and all agree that the one entity they want to refer families that are literally and sometimes on their last breath is to HCN. If we don't have our arms open from the first day, without exception, we couldn't open it conveniently to welcome in LGBTQ or to welcome in straight, gay, or anyone else. We could not.
I work with students right now, and I have students who are questioning their sexuality, who are trying to figure out how to come out to their families, how to stay in the mainstream of what it is that they're desiring to do and still be accepted as queer.
I support Black LGBTQ individuals by setting up a program that gives them a chance to have access to Black clinicians. The program is called DKI, which is Dream Keepers Initiative. You can't just look at a person and think that individual therapy will be enough. I have to really take into account if they have housing, do they have water, food, can they get to school? Are they the primary caregiver for an adult? And all of that impacts how a student shows up. Because the funding is already there, I'm able to meet with people who might not have access based off of that financial barrier. And typically the people who don't have access exist within the margins and in those intersections. And so this really allows me to break out of that.
There are dreams. We're talking about a Dream Keeper initiative. What happens if you're queer and you have a dream and nobody even recognizes you breathing? Much less the merit behind your dream, much less the entrepreneurial resources you need to awaken your dream, much less that your dream gets to be a part of a larger Black community that has historically said something is wrong with you.
If I could tell a young person that was, going through a journey of finding themselves and becoming themselves, I think something I'd tell them is to find your people, because it's so important to have a support system and people who respect you and you feel comfortable with.
And they said, let's just say we're born this way. And they built out billboards, they built out posters. They went on the Solar Pride stage and they spoke to the crowd, and some of them came out on that stage.
The biggest benefit from Solar Pride being part of DKI and HCN is allowing us to have services year-round, to be part of the community, and to expand what we're going to do, and feel that we're going to have the support.
California is lucky to have a Dr. Silas who has anchored her work in our great state.
The most rewarding part is truly just showing up and getting to be who I am and show individuals that you don't have to play into a role. Because you're Black or because you're queer, you can show up and really be yourself, and that's okay and that's enough.
We're being ourselves. We love who we are. And we're here to kind of not to get folks riled up, but just to be people and live.
I think it's important to just have a form of love, because it can be hard to love yourself when you just don't know yourself very well. It's so important to just be able to live life freely.
Homeless Children's Network will not go back in the closet. We won't be quiet. We cannot unknow what we now know. We know this model works.
Give another round for Homeless Children's Network. So we are about to move into the conversation with Lena Waithe. Give it up for Lena Waithe, who walked here because traffic was so bad. Emmy-winning writer, producer, actor, and founder, Lena Waithe continues to lead the cultural revolution in Hollywood with creativity, diversity, and charisma. Waithe expertly taps into emerging societal trends with a sharp wit, speaking to a myriad of experiences from her unique perspective, while challenging audiences to think outside of conventional norms. Who's heard the name before? Who's seen the work? Who has an appreciation for the person in the work? So it's interesting to have the short shared by HCN and by Dr. Silas, and then to be able to be in conversation with someone who is really changing the way that we think about what we watch, right? Whether we are streaming it, whether we're going to see it on the big screen, but that we are thinking about it in a very different way. So after the next little sizzle reel that we have, we're going to bring out the amazing Lena Waithe. So let's go ahead and watch this next reel.
Our movies and TV shows should look like what America claims it is. It should be a mirror. When you can make someone's story for someone to look at that and go, oh, I understand. That to me is the most revolutionary thing.
Keep your hands where I can see. Why is he under arrest? I'm reaching for my cell phone.
I'm staying out of trouble this time. I thought you moved to another shelter. No, you know I was in Rutgers. Would it make you feel better if you came and stayed with me?
Hey, Andre? Yeah, you said you were a basketball coach.
You said you were 6 foot.
I'm Chang, and I'm dunking all my haters.
Trust me. She's ready.
I just know how to sing. Why my skin so dry? Why am I yawning right now? Why them AARP niggas sending shit to my house? This is 40.
Documentaries really inform us about different groups of people, different places, and subject matter that we might not have been privy to before.
Only sport in the world, a Negro can chase a white man and 40,000 people stand up and cheer.
Ladies and gentlemen, get Gregory! The truth is, like, I'm not here to give audiences what they want. I'm here to give you what I believe you need. This is a show about sneaker culture. On a pair of kicks that everybody wants.
You just got evicted. You could have been raped or killed. It's a lookalike.
Today I'm going to change our city forever.
You trying to get me on the Shade Room?
Bitch, you ain't famous enough to be on the Shade Room.
Being gay isn't something black people love to talk about. All right, so we'll say you're Lebanese.
As an artist, you just need that opportunity.
They need guidance, they need access. And so that's what we try to provide.
I stumble sometimes.
I think that's a large part of like what the Hillman Grad Network is doing. They're creating equity and really lifting others up by providing a community.
Hillman is creating that space for us to be unapologetic because they truly understand our authentic experiences.
You knew she was out there all along. You didn't tell me?
We're done talking about this. Put these back where you found them.
We're the first Black-owned and African-owned home fragrance brand at Sephora, so I've been milking that in, honey.
This industry is based on relationships and who you know, and so specifically as a Black woman, she knows whatever power she has, she's going to share that.
Is it a lot of work to be this stylish?
I dress for comfort first and intentionality second. Like, I try to wear black and brown designers. What can I do to help you reach your highest potential? Because that makes me feel purposeful. Money is cool, but I can't take it with me. What I really hope to leave behind are connections. I want to improve people's lives.
Give it up. All right, let's give it up one more time for Lena Waithe. Thank you so much for...
What's up? Hey, everybody. Hey, we made it. The traffic was kind of crazy out there. Happy Pride. Y'all got these lights on me, hitting me.
Sorry, they were trying to make sure that the skin tones were showing up on the... I know
that's right. Yes, please.
So I know my first question is supposed to be really about, like, tell us what Hillman Grad is, but I wanted to just shout out and appreciate. So looking at the reel, seeing Dick Gregory in there and, like, leveraging, yes, Like, if you all don't know Dick Gregory, this is why I appreciate the work that you're doing, because they should know Dick Gregory.
I hope you know Dick Gregory. If you don't, it's all good. You can watch the documentary on Showtime.
Exactly.
Introducing Dick Gregory.
Exactly. So that just, for me, was like, this is why we need Hillman Grad. This is why we need you to do the work that you're doing. But can you say more to the folks here about, like, Hillman Grad, what is it? What are you hoping to do? And also, why choose that name?
It's interesting because now we're Hillman Grad Ventures, you know, so we're like, we were initially Hillman Grad Productions, but it's because we have so many different branches now. Yes, Hillman Grad is known as a production company. We produced The Chi, we made, hey, we did Queen and Slim, came under that banner as well. Hey, so, and 20s and all that, Boomerang, so, yeah, the stuff. So, but also not just stuff I've done, but also films like 40-Year-Old Version, you know, it's on Netflix right now, 1001. I just went to honor Miss Tiana Taylor. She got an Innovator Award. I was honored. So yes, we got to Tiana Taylor. It was awesome. So, but yeah, but really we have mentorship, we have mentorship programs, the Hillman Grad Mentorship Labs, where we help shepherd television writers, actors, as well as people on the executive track. And we also have a partnership with Indeed, Rising Voices, where they give us $100K for 10 different filmmakers, $100K each to make a short film with the theme of work, and we premiere those films at Tribeca. We've done that 4 years in a row, and we're gonna do a 5th season, so we're excited about that. Yeah, which is about our director friends out there. You know, but you know, we also have a cannabis side. You know, we have our first strain, First Draft, which is my first weed strain, which is pretty cool and a fun experience. We also have books. We have Hillman Grad Books through Zando, so we've got some books dropping this year and next. So yeah, we really kind of have a lot happening. And Justin Riley, if I'm forgetting something, you can shout at me. But yeah, we're just sort of like all-encompassing. Also, it's about community, man. Me too, as well. Like, we like to have events so we can bring everybody out and just have a good time.
Yeah, give it up for that, because I mean, looking at the reel, I was like, it's a lot going on, right? Like, we built this and being able to celebrate and recognize entrepreneurs. I knew about the book launch, and all of that is happening. And when we think about, so we've got HBCU students here, we've got local.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to say the other part of the question about Hillman Grad. Yeah, like, so Hillman Grad used to be my Instagram handle for a long time when I first was on Insta, and then I was like on a TV show, and like people were starting to know me, so my publicist was like, you gotta change your Instagram to your actual name. But I always, which was cool, but I loved the Hillman Grad thing. It was kind of really dope, and so when it came time to name the production company, I went with that because it's such a part of who I am and part of my identity, and also it speaks to how powerful television can be. You know, it was very, like a different world. Yes, it was a TV show, but it really had a huge impact on me, and really kind of helped me see the world through a different lens, and that's what we really try to do is like with Hillman Grad Productions, whether it be The Chi or the fact that people, you know, make that an event or come around and talk about it. It really is, we're just trying to continue that tradition of television that you don't just have on in the background, but you kind of have to sit and pay attention to.
Yeah, I have to thank you, because I went to one of your events and I got to meet Don Lewis.
Oh yes, Don, who people say is like a bit of a doppelganger for me. Like, we could be cousins. Who played Jaleesa on A Different World. Yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, I've gotten a chance to build a friendship with Cree Summers. Kadeem Hardison is on this season of The Chi, if those have been blocking in. And Debbie Allen has just become, you know, my mentor and just, you know, an amazing human in my life. And now me and Debbie Allen just kind of talk trash like what's going to fall and just have fun. But Susan Fels Hill, who was the showrunner of A Different World, came to showrun the first 2 seasons of 20s for me, which is also a full circle moment as well. So it's just been a really beautiful journey. It's like, you know, like it's like you see NBA players watching players on the screen and they get to go. That's what it feels like to be around Debbie Allen or Kadeem. I used to work for Gina Prince Bythewood, who did Love and Basketball and Woman King. She was a staff writer on A Different World, and I became her assistant years later. So A Different World is just like all around. I mean, like Cree Summer's been to my house. I was like, this is crazy. It's like this is like my childhood coming into my home. But that's sort of what it is. Is like, you know, Cree or Kadeem or Debbie, like Jasmine Guy shouted me out when she was on Breakfast Club. You know, it's like it's a reminder that, oh, you're a part of this community, and we see you, and you have a legacy to uphold.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it. I was talking to somebody, and I was trying to explain Hillman Grad, and they were like, "You think I don't know, like about a different world?" And like, you know, they started going through all the folks, and I think about it in the same way when we talk about this ability to kind of understand and recognize like where Black excellence lives, right, and how it shows up. And for so many people, you know, a different world was that place to be able to see that and recognize that. And so as we are exploring in San Francisco, where we've lost half of the Black population, and we're saying, okay, we want to do this HBCU satellite, I think there's something very special. They talk about a different world really spurred more people applying to go to HBCUs. And so I was going to ask, you know, what do you think the relevance is, or the importance, or do you think it's important to have like HBCUs in the country?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's extremely important. I think it's really part of our DNA, you know. And even though yes, the world is changing, that's something that is really a staple for us. And I think it's a reminder of like who we are and what we had to build on our own in order to get to where we need to be. And I don't think it should ever become a thing of the past. I think it's something that we have to always keep in our present and always celebrate. And obviously, you know, with like school days or a different world, these are fictitious HBCUs. But, you know, but I think it's important that we continue to remind each other why that community is so important. And it's just also part of our legacy. Speaking of legacy, it's a part of our legacy. It's a part of who we are. It's part of our identity. Even if you didn't go to a HBCU, you respect the HBCU. You understand the significance and why it matters. And so, and I think that's why, you know, Hillman Grad, even though that's, you know, like I said, it's one that's sort of made up, but it's representative of the significance of these schools and who these schools raise up. I mean, I think that's really what was so cool. You look at Dwayne, Wayne, and like Whitley and Freddie and Kimberly and all these characters, they represent real life people. And I think people can relate to these characters in terms of, and also you talk about Black excellence. What I love about Kimberly Reese is that she, and also Dwayne Wayne's characters, they came from working class families. Kimberly Reese had to work her way through college. You know, she was working at the pit. When you have, you know, obviously a Whitley Gilbert character who is a Southern belle and comes from influence and has money and things like that. And so just a way to show, and also you have a Cree Summers character who is biracial and who has very different experiences. And I think that's also really important. I mean, I think we try to do that on The Chi as well. We try to show all the different walks of life, because you can kind of get caught up in, okay, you don't want to police how to be Black. And so I think it's really about how, you know, because even Black excellence is sort of being, I think, we're starting to examine that and what that means. Because if you say Black excellence, what do you think about? Are you thinking about a person who has income? You know, think about a person who went to certain schools, comes from a certain family. And so I think what I'm trying to do is just really continuing on that legacy of what Debbie Allen was doing and what Susan Fells were doing in terms of saying, okay, you can be Black and excellent no matter what your bank account looks like, no matter what, if your dad is, you know, not there or is or isn't. It's really about if you're really marching to the beat of your own drum and you're proud of who you are, that to me is a form of Black excellency.
Yes. I mean, as you were talking, it just made me think. So when we talk about storytelling, or when we talk about who gets seen, right? And when you talk about the work that you're doing, and we're in this climate right now where in some places folks are trying to erase diversity, equity, inclusion, or the conversation around it. Just what does success look like? What does excellence look like? What, you know, when I think about the shows that you've done and just the representation, a lot of times we also think education in an academic institution is the only way to go, but some of the best money managers that I know are straight from the streets, right? Like they know how to manage their money, how to count their money, how to save their money. And so that storytelling is so important. As you are doing this work, do you run up against, or do you hit the walls where some folks are like, I don't want that story, or that's not how we see it?
Well, it's interesting. I think a thing that sort of I've been bumping up against like recently, as a couple of days ago, on the phone with, I can't say the streamer yet, but they bought this show that we'll see if it comes out. But it is about a family. It's about a black family, and I'll say this: they're trying to manage a family member's estate, and that family member was a famous artist in the 90s, and so it's about this family sort of managing that estate. And so the streamer is talking about wish fulfillment, Black excellence was mentioned, and it being aspirational. And so a thing that I'm sort of, I was on the phone, I think I handled myself pretty well, but the thing was, what I wanted to explain is that we are in a moment of transition in terms of what is it, because I was like, what is the wish here being fulfilled? What I think there's an issue here in terms of Black folks having money being new. And so I think that was something I'm like, okay, so this is something I have to work at, because I was like, we have to show that like Black wealth can also be subtle. And it's not always flashy. Nothing wrong with being flashy, please, by all means. Like, they don't have the big house out of all the cars. But what was so interesting about like the K-Dot pop-out show was the fact that he was wearing this, like, yes, the hoodie was red, but it was like it's kind of like this expensive brand, but there's not like a label there. It's like he wasn't trying to flex like how much he spent on the hoodie. It was just like, I don't want you to focus on a brand. I want you to focus on the artist. Right. In this hoodie, like, don't think about that. Focus on what I'm saying. And so I think that's the space that we're in, where we have to redefine what Black excellence and what that stuff looks like, and also success. I've always been sort of thinking about, when I talk to people, when I'm mentoring or people asking me questions, I always like to ask them, what is your definition of success? Not society's, because we have been sold an idea, because we live in a capitalist society. So of course a capitalist society wants you to believe that you have to have houses and cars and clothes and different things, so that way you can feed the machine. And so my thing is always like, we did this on The Shy with Papa and Maisha, just asking themselves like, what does success look like to you? And they kind of have to sit and think about it. And I love that Maisha's like, being able to look out for my mom, my siblings, have an apartment, that I can afford, and I don't have to just work to live, but I can enjoy my life. Like, having this young Black woman actually have to speak to that, I hope that kind of sparks something in people in their living rooms where they're watching it and thinking, what is my idea of success? Or I ask people, what is your dream case scenario? And when people kind of have to think about that, it's what they want or their desires sort of come up. And oftentimes it's something that doesn't require them to be on the hamster wheel for their whole life. And I think that we have to sort of start to celebrate different versions of success, not just what society feeds us.
So you're here, it's Pride Weekend.
Yeah. Hey, come on.
And it's interesting, because I think a lot of times people think about coming to San Francisco and it's going to be a safe haven. And I know Dr. Silas has shared this, and part of the work that she's doing with mental health in this space is that when we talk about the intersection of sexual orientation, gender, race, socioeconomic status, all of those things, it changes how you show up, right? And for a lot of folks, Black LGBT folks here in San Francisco don't feel as welcome in the Castro as other folks do. And so part of this conversation for us, and which is why the storytelling is so important, is that intersectionality cuts different, right? And that how you show up and what that looks like. And so, as you're doing this work, and I tell people a lot of times, I know still in Black communities, it's still very taboo to have the conversation about sexual orientation, right? Like, it's still, but then you go into certain places and it might be a queer community, but they may not be ready for Black people. And so, as you are navigating all of these different pieces and spaces and places, do you get to be fully yourself everywhere you go, or do you have to say, well, today I'm focusing on this piece of me versus this piece?
Well, no, I mean, I think I'm grateful that I get to be fully myself, but I think I got to have a very unique experience because when I was introduced to the public, to a lot of people, was on Master of None, because I was on a TV show, and the character became queer because I'm queer, and Aziz was like, this is more interesting. The character initially I was playing, Denise, was supposed to be a straight girl who would ultimately be a love interest for him. That's initially how imagine the character. But they would start out as friends, obviously, they're friends, and then eventually they would be a couple. So then when I walked in, Aziz was like, well, this is more interesting. So he was like, we're gonna rewrite the first season. We're gonna rewrite it, and we want the character to be more like you. And we didn't even, and I was like, okay, bet, that's cool, easy for me to play a gay woman. But we didn't realize the significance of that, I think, in that exchange, and Denise meaning so much to so many people, and obviously ultimately the coming out episode. But I think I show up as myself, and there's also a privilege there too, because I think as a woman, I think for our community, people are more uncomfortable with queer men than queer women. So, because I find that I don't get as much hate for being queer as some of my male Black queer counterparts. And I think that's just something to do with masculinity and what people think about that, particularly when it comes to Black men. And I think there's a privilege because I'm mask presenting, so we still live in a patriarchal society. So if I walk into the room with a partner who is femme, we experience that heteronormative sort of discrimination, that she'll be looked past and I'll be looked at. And also that comes from whether it be influence or whatever it may be, but there's certain privileges that some of us may have that we don't necessarily want to say out loud because well, no, I'm a queer Black woman, but I'm also privileged. And so that's also, again, we as a a society are in transition. And I think that's something we kind of have to grapple with. And with The Chi, absolutely, that I learned so much from reactions to that stuff because there's going to be queer people in the show and queer characters, but yet and a lot of straight Black men like the show, and they often forget that a queer Black woman created the show because they sometimes get frustrated, like, do we have to have a gay scene here? Why gotta have that? Because it's like, nah, we gotta, and of course the word agenda gets thrown around, but yet at one point putting Black folks into stuff was agenda. You know what I'm saying? We had to integrate the movies, and so that's what Sidney Poitier really did almost single-handedly, being a Guest Who's Coming to Dinner, Lilies of the Field. He's the one Black person in the movie. And eventually it's then we can have stuff, fast forward, then you can have all Black movies, then you get Eddie Murphy being criticized for Boomerang not having any white leads. So ultimately, even something small on the finale of The Chi, I'm sorry if I'm ruining it, but Emmett asks for a gender reveal party. He's like, we gotta do a gender reveal. And Keisha's like, well, what if our baby doesn't agree with the gender they're assigned at birth? So she's like, I don't want to do a gender reveal party. And he's like, okay, what? He's like, well, I'm old school. She's like, well, I'm new school. So that's really, the work that we're sort of doing and throwing it in there and just letting that scene exist, and then you go to opening credits and now we're in the show. And so people at home are kind of then going, all right, okay, all right. And it's not like a smack, but it's sort of a flick. And that's sort of the job. And I also understand it's I'm a bit on an island, and so and somebody could argue, oh, is it your responsibility? You feel like it's your job, but it's The Chi is sort of this thing where it's this conversation. There's Luke James his character is dating a trans woman, and Luke gets a lot of hits for that, and Luke James himself wears fingernail polish, and he got shit for it, but of course. I see that conversation. I put it, if you've seen the show, Emmett has a half-brother, played by Brett Gray, who's great, played Damien. So we were we're writing season 7 right now, as we speak. And so, yay. But because of that thing with Luke, I was like, oh, okay, we're going to have Damien and Emmett go together to get a haircut. And Emmett's going to notice that Damien has nail polish on. And I'm giving away whatever. You may forget it by the time it comes on. But Emmett says, what's up with the nail polish? That just kind of some gay shit, man. And Damien says, well, is having 3 babies by 3 different women straight shit? And Emmett's like, fuck you, nigga. Whatever, man. Whatever, brother. Whatever, man. Let's get out of here. And that's the thing. It's like, and so then the 2 brothers are off. And that's sort of that's what we want to do. Is like we want to say, like, we hear what you guys are saying. We see what's up. And again, it's like Brett is so charming and great and sweet. For him to say that to Emmett, it's like, it's almost soft. It's like, so as to be straight, what? You know, what is that? Even seeing Gerard Carmichael's show, you know, him dealing with his father, having a family outside of his family, but yet he's not accepted for being queer. You know, these are the things. It's sort of like, what is the moral compass? Who are we? Who do we want to be? And so what's interesting is that we're sort of being faced with these conversations, and I like sort of sprinkling it in. You know, with 20s, we get to have all kinds of conversations. 20s is now streaming on Paramount Plus, the first 2 seasons. You can rewatch it or watch it for the first time, you know. And that's also where we like, it's like My Reasonable Doubt. I'm putting so many things in that. If people watch the show, it's sort of me kind of giving you secrets and sort of a bit of a blueprint and roadmap if you pay super close attention. There's a lot of Easter eggs, or just sort of like me talking to people and giving them advice through the show. Also giving definitions of things too. It's like saying, what's a PA or what's a writer? And we just have characters say it. So it's my way of being like, you don't go to school. If you watch 20s, if you watch The Chi, we'll throw some stuff in there for you.
I love it. I love it because, so yeah, you can, somebody's in the back clapping. So I want to build on what you just said, because I do think this piece around creatives is really important, but I also just want to thank you for like holding up, because what I'm hearing is also a mirror, because when you say that, it also is an opportunity to be like, because we can sometimes say things and do things, and we don't see ourselves. Right. And then when you say, you know, he's going to go to the barbershop and be like, hey, it's like, oh, I'm going to be like, oh, I think I may have done that to somebody one time. Like,
exactly.
You know, because I know definitely, I'm like, I told the young people, like, I'm old school, right? Like, so I'm still fighting in my mind all the time to not be my grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that you want, like, it's like, oh, yeah, that's kind of like not the right thing to say.
Right. And I think the thing is like, I want to be in conversation, not combat.
Yes.
Because we don't really get anywhere, you know? And I think there's a level of sometimes just acknowledgement, you know, of like where certain people are, but also don't want people to be on a fool's errand of trying to change someone into who you are. Because it's just not possible. Like, I can't look at my mom, who was born in 1953. She always says I was born, you know, America was still segregated when she was born. And that's a real thing for me to think about, you know, and I'm born in 84. So, of course, she and I are going to speak different languages. Of course, she and I are not going to be on the same page. But I can't fault her for being born at the time when she was born, for experiencing the world in the time in which she experienced it. And the hope is that she doesn't fault me or judge me for existing the way in which I do, you know, growing up in the 90s and coming into my own in the 2000s. These are different worlds we're experiencing. And so I think for me, there's a lot of empathy and a lot of love and a lot of patience. And I think we just get further when we speak at a volume like this and really actually listen to the other person. Because that's the thing I've sort of been doing really, is just really listening to people. Like really kind of going like, I'm gonna listen and not wait for my turn to talk or wait for my rebuttal, but rather just hear someone, because just sort of practicing that, people will really, they'll tell you sort of what's going on if you really hear it. And sometimes it's like, oh, this is just where you are. And you're not going to move from there. And then we get to decide if we want to be in that space or not, rather than trying to say, well, no, I want you to think about how I think about it in order to exist in a space with you. And I think we lose in those scenarios.
Yes. Well, I'm going to ask the last question, but you saying that just reminds me, I've had these conversations with advocates and activists who come in, and I'm like, often I've said to them, like, you come in and you speak on behalf of people you've never spoken to, right? And that is a problem, and that you need to start with, you need to educate, not alienate, right? Like, you need to figure out how you help them understand where you're coming from, and instead of trying to say, if you don't do it my way, then you don't get it.
All right.
So thank you so much for that messaging, because I think we're in a polarized world right now, and we got to do better to hear each other.
Absolutely.
Well, I think my last question would be, like, what would you say to the creatives, right? That folks who are like, I want to do what you're doing, or I got a lot of ideas, and so that's why I appreciated you talking about Watch 20s. I'm telling you what a PA is. I'm going through all of these different things. Like, what would you say to folks? Like, if you're hungry for it, what's step one?
Well, our society is in transition right now, and society and Hollywood are mirrors of each other. So Hollywood is very much in a transition as well. In terms of streamers, in terms of even for us, like, it's a wonderful thing that we went from doing 10 episodes a season, that's all I've known for the first five seasons of The Chi, to 16 episodes for season 6, which is sort of unheard of for us and unique. But it's really it's exciting, but it's also a money play for Paramount Plus. They want to keep their subscribers. So they want to split it up, do 8 and 8, so that way our folk don't drop the subscription. But what that does is it affects the storytelling, because we're not used to doing more than 10 episodes. So if sometimes an episode drags, it's because, like, well, I shouldn't have a 15th episode. Like, you know what I mean? I'm going to do what I can. But that's also the thing, is that the business, if it's possible, has gotten more difficult because of streamers, because there's no, and this is on purpose, I think, there's no real way to measure success. You know, what's a successful movie now? What's a successful TV show now? Nothing really goes viral anymore. And that's on purpose. You know, I don't know if we're going to see another Tabitha Brown. But that's on purpose, because Tabitha's sitting pretty. Because the people said, yeah, she's cool. Now it's like, when does that happen again? Because that's putting too much power in whose hands?
Right.
So it means that, you know, and even like for us, like, we're a weekly show, which also helps us. And it's funny because The Bear is not, but I just saw an article that said, should The Bear become a weekly show? Meaning we have to determine how you, like, you don't get to determine how you watch the show. You have to wait a week. You have to. Other shows go on Netflix, you can watch Baby Reindeer in one afternoon. You know what I mean? But the reason why we are writing our 7th season, I think, yes, it's because of the people, yes, because folks connect to the characters, but it's because of the weekly airing, I believe. I just do. I think that's a big part of it. And also when we came out as well. So it's like, I don't think I could sell, you know, The Chi today. I don't think I could make 1,001 today. And also, like, we're even shrinking as a company and being really thought like we don't get to say yes to some of these smaller projects now, which is really heartbreaking for us. Our hope is we wait out, give it a couple of years, see what happens. The pendulum swings back and forth. People are having a very, you know, I think the relationship that people have with social media is also a very unique one now. I see a lot of people taking mental breaks from it. It's not a place where, you know, we used to do web series, we used to crowdfund. That's what myself, Justin Simeon, Issa Rae would do. You know, Quinta started on BuzzFeed. And so now I look around and I really don't know what to tell people. What I do try to tell folks is always lean into the craft. Craft will save you. Community will keep you lifted. And you have to have a real understanding of your why. Why are you doing it? And if it's to be seen because those that, you know, raised you didn't see you, you know, maybe all right, but that's not going to hold you those late nights. You know, you really have to study it and be, you know, super focused. I mean, I'm still a student. I'm still studying. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to get better. But also the thing with the business is like we have to sit around the table and kind of go, okay, what now? What do we do? How do we get people invigorated again? How do we get people excited? I have to do that with the show, with the Shy. Like, okay, season 7, all right, what are we doing? We got some tricks up our sleeve, so stay tuned. But that's also the things we have to do to keep people invested and keep people coming back. And it isn't easy, it's difficult. So I'm just saying focus on your craft, focus on each other. And also don't try to be like the folks that came before you, because we came up. I moved out to LA in 2006. If you come into LA, or you don't have to move to LA either way, but it's like if you come out in 2025 or 2026, it's a different landscape. And so someone like me isn't even the right person to advise. You know what I'm saying? If you ask Debbie Allen advice, she would say, she was around in the 90s, 80s and stuff like that. So it really is about what's happening now. But I feel the barricades being put up for these creatives. I feel how difficult it is for them. So my hope is that folks just stay positive, stay locked in, really figure out what your taste is, what your aesthetic is, what your voice is. Find your voice, because that's really what it was for me, is that people could get a sense of, I have a very specific voice. And so if you listen to your voice, hopefully that will stand out enough that people want to lean in.
Give it up. Give it up. I want to thank you so much for making time. I know there's so much going on. Thank you for being here.
Y'all are beautiful.
I want to give it up for Melanie and Melora for the artwork in here. Thank you for bringing in the beautiful pictures on the wall. Jason Johnson,
yes.
Tech
Hello.
And Justin Riley and Antoine Phillips, thank you all.
Antoine, thank you. Thank you. Thank y'all for being here.
Making it possible. And to all of you for being here.
Yes. Thank you. Y'all are so beautiful.
I know our HBCU students want to get a picture with you, but
let's do it. Where are we gonna do it? How are we gonna do it? Do we know? We have a plan?